From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings of incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In today's recording, direct and live from Santa Monica, California, the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the CR for stimulus is simmering. We'll go over the incredible money in this fourth stimulus recon, the Build Back Better Act, but the way to get money out sooner with an ancillary body of legislation. Plus, I'll answer your questions you've been asking as well. We're going to go over this incredible recon, the Build Back Better Act, that was passed in the House back in the month of November and is now in the Senate. And the Senate changes will be robust with an addition of an MSC. Joe Biden says he's ready to send out checks right today. The Senate changes, we're going to go over to that incredible recon and the recon itself, starting with at least $15,000 upwards of $60,000 of multiple checks to start. Third stimulus are in there as well, $45,000. I'm going to show you how to get that money right today. No time to wait for it. But we'll also be going over CR for stimulus, which is a way to get the check to your hand sooner rather than later. I'll be answering questions about executive order, about the Boost Act, and about other ways to get a check in your hand sooner than the Build Back Better Act. We'll be looking at student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus fifth stimulus, what to know. The latest about what's happening with Vladimir Putin and the potential invasion of Ukraine. It's featured in today's recording. Plus, we'll be looking at inflation. But more importantly, we'll be looking at how to get all these incredible checks from this recon in your hand and how to get some of them even sooner than later. It's a big, bold, beautiful morning to LA because guess what? Again, the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the checks are coming. And Joe Biden says he wants to send out the checks and a brand new news statement to the American people. We'll have all those incredible details live on air, direct from Santa Monica, California, on a big, bold, beautiful day. I hope the weather is good where you are. It's warming up here in Southern California, and the deliciousness starts right here, right now, as Mornings LA gets underway from Santa Monica, California. Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you are good. The recon will heat up with a lot of signed provisions like student loan debt forgiveness and fifth stimulus come into this recording. Can fifth stimulus go by executive order? I'll explain the details on that. Plus the CR for stimulus. We have a lot in today's recording, plus the incredible money from third stimulus. But first, we're going to start with the Build Back Better Act passed in the House, now in the Senate, and the Senate changes with a potential MSC. Joe Biden is ready to send out checks. He makes it in a new statement today as well. The incredible money of this recon will be detailed, plus the efforts to get a check out separately. CR for stimulus. We'll examine the Boost Act. We'll examine executive order. Can the president do it? And can the president send out other relief of money to you without an act of Congress? It's brand new and it's breaking, and it's only on today's Mornings LA, direct and live from Santa Monica, California. I'm excited you're here. You're watching the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. I want you part of this incredible family, so go right on this video and subscribe. The fastest growing and the biggest channel, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America, it's LA. You're watching it right now. Live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up later today is a whole slate of brand new programming. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and consider becoming a member. We have a lot in this video. Stay to the very end. We're going to first start with the incredible checks in this recon, one at a time, 3 classes and 3 add-ons, and then go back over how to get other provisions added thereafter. But let's understand this recon, the Build Back Better Act, has a lot of checks in there, at least $60,000 of checks. It started 50,000, 15,000 has grown across the board. It's 3 classes and 3 add-ons. Let's look at them right now. In the first cluster, they have in there the hazard pay for my essential workers. Want to learn about this? This is the earned income tax credit. It predates the Biden administration, but it was broadened under third stimulus. To see the current eligibility, go to irs.gov. They look to extend this again under fourth stimulus. They look to launch a $4,000 of elder care provision under fourth stimulus, $4,000 of care for young children. The Pell Grant recipients will get a $550 check one time. And then the CTC, want to learn about that, go to irs.gov, created by third stimulus. They look to extend it under fourth stimulus. It's $3,600 per year, approximately, for the parents of children in low-income community or families. Then $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. And finally, money to repair the home if you live in a low-income community. Wow, it's incredible. The first of three add-ons of checks comes from here in Southern California, and it is incredible. It's huge. It is money to buy your first home. $25,000. She got a little bit less. Ryan was asking in the live chat yesterday, what is the eligibility? Do we know the amount just yet? We know it's a little bit less than $25,000, but not a lot less. And we don't know anything more about the eligibility. But again, this is a check that will be given from the federal government to the seller in your name at the time of escrow for the purchase of your first home. Lynn Glenn loves it as well. Let's go to that second cluster of checks. Here we go. These home repairs are to weatherize your home, but the paid leave is where the big money lands. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more annual income. $1,700 a week. Wow. If you make $35,000 or more annual income, then it's $800 a week. $15,000 annual salary, then it's $400 a week. How many weeks? 4 to 6 weeks a year. Who qualifies for it? You all qualify for it. W-2 or 1099. But if you don't work and your son or daughter does work and they live with you, they're going to get the check every time they have to take off from work to take you to the doctor's office. It's incredible. And that is, my friend, the second of three clusters of checks. Now let's turn to the second add-on of checks. And that comes to the incredible Bob Casey. $250 billion. What is this? Home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. It's incredible. It was a campaign promise from Joe Biden. They got a little bit less than $250 in there, but again, that's in there. Passed by the House. Let's go now to the third cluster of checks where we find deliciousness. Free internet, the incredible money for the farmers, the independent contractors, the free school meals for all checks, and then the seniors, not a check, but a covered benefit. 2 on the House, 3 would come on the Senate side. On the House side, they got the Medicaid gap fix, more about that in a second, and the hearing. On the Senate side, the vow to do dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, which is par for the course of what we're talking about when we talk about the third add-on of checks, and you know what it is. It's MSC. What is MSC? Who gets it? What is the eligibility? What is the calculation? Where is it for the voting process right now? And can we get a check sooner than later? It's lots of details. It's all breaking news. It's all brand new today. And I'm going to go over the details starting right now. First, what is an MSC? MSC separates the language from the program. So in the fourth stimulus package, there are lots of checks, upwards of about $60,000 of multiple checks in the fourth stimulus recon. So not to confuse you with those checks, this is a different program that would be added in there, where multiple or otherwise called monthly stimulus checks are sent out from IRS on a monthly basis. So who would get it? Let's go over the eligibility of it right now. Legislators have told tens of thousands of viewers since the month of May that the eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check. And what was the eligibility then? Let's go over the details right now. Single individuals, $75,000 or less, got that third stimulus check. Married couple, $150,000 or less annual income, you would get it as well. Double it. Family of 4, you would get it as well. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, Veterans benefits, you would get it as well. Adult dependents would also get it. One viewer last night had a question about a family of 5. That's a very confusing question because we had some people who got third stimulus checks for a family of 5, but some only got for a family of 4. We're not particularly clear across the board on that issue, but great question. Is it income? It's not income. It's not taxable. Does it only go to some states? No, this comes from the federal government, which then tees up the question, how much? Well, since the month of May last year, the legislators have said that the payout would be the following. It would be $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months, which then keys up the question, how do they get this to a vote? Where do they get this to a vote? And certainly new on LALATE is there a way to get it out sooner rather than later? Let's go over all those incredible details right now. So where are we? We're currently in the House, we're currently in the Senate with a body of legislation called the Build Back Better Act that passed in the House back in November. Well, we don't have the Senate bill yet. First, they have to send the House bill to the subcommittees of the Senate. They haven't done that. And those Senate subcommittees would add provisions in there. Now, in 2021, last year, I delivered countless recordings about what is in the Build Back Better Act. These notes, those provisions are staying in there because they were written by Democrats. The House Democrats wrote those provisions. The Senate Democrats will not remove them. They'll just add stuff in there during the Senate subcommittee, like an MSE. Then they call for a Senate floor vote. Then, after the Senate floor vote, they have a 2-day vote-a-rama. Wow. That's why it's important for you to advocate for provisions across the board. Now, in a second, I'm going to show you, is there an opportunity to get a check to you faster without using that body of legislation, the Build Back Better Act? There is. It's coming up in a second, and it's called CR for Stimulus. And we're going to examine, for the first time ever on Mornings LA, the opportunity to use other vehicles or instruments. Do they work or do they not work? It's coming up in just a second. But let's go over to advocacy for this money in the incredible Build Back Better Act. It's important for you to advocate because this channel has been the single biggest place for advocacy in the United States, delivering 9 million phone calls to senators advocating for provisions in that recon. Why is it important for you to advocate? Because those senators need to know at least once a week that you still need the money. They may have heard from you in September, but they need to hear from you now still that you need the money in this incredible recon. And it involves picking up the phone and calling their Senate office, saying, I need the money. It's bigger than a petition. The American petition has delivered 3 million signatures. The viewership of this channel has delivered 9 million 20-minute average phone calls to senators telling unique stories of why you need it. This is why we are the biggest place of advocacy in the United States. When you pick up the phone and advocate, call the senator's office and speak to the staffer you spoke before to a week earlier. Commiserate. How you been? Good. I want to tell you why I still need it. Whether it is an MSC or the first-time home purchases, whatever you need in this recon, pick up the phone and tell them. Because if they don't hear from you, they presume you don't need it, even if they heard from you months earlier. And who do you call? Here you go. Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Pick up the phone and tell them why you need this incredible money. And these are the legislators who said they would put an MSC in there and all these incredible provisions. They are Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Tell them why you need it, and it should be included across the board. But is there an opportunity to get money out to you sooner than the Build Back Better Act? A stimulus check sooner? There is, if they listen. And what is that opportunity? We're going to go over it right now. It's called CR for Stimulus. To learn about CR for Stimulus, we need to take it back 2 years ago. In 2020, we had a very similar circumstance. In spring of 2020, we had just ended first stimulus. The pandemic had just begun. We had used up all first stimulus, and we were waiting for a new body of legislation to come to fruition. It was called the second stimulus package. Package because it was thousands of pages. The negotiators at the time were Nancy Pelosi on behalf of the Democrats and Steve Mnuchin, then Treasury Secretary, on behalf of the Republicans. The negotiations started in the spring of 2020. Spring, not done. Summer, not done. Fall, not done. Winter, not done. By December, I looked at the situation. I said, you know what? We have an issue here. It's still not done. The common theme at the time was there was no deadline they had to get things done by. And because there was no deadline, it wasn't done. So one particular day, I looked at the situation. I said, there has to be another alternative. This second stimulus package, which is thousands of pages, that is being argued over every single page, is holding up sending out a check to you. So I thought to myself, how about sending out a check without the second stimulus package inside of something else that does have a deadline? I looked and I found it. It's called the continuing resolution, the budget bill, the CR. It has a lot of different names, but the theme of it is always the same. It has to be done. It has a deadline. What is it? Every few months, the federal government must pass this budget bill that funds the federal government's operation, the national parks, the federal buildings. The government always gets it done, even bipartisan. They may miss it by a day, a few days, a week, and rarely a month. But they don't go 3 months because guess what? The federal government would shut down. It has a deadline. So immediately I thought to myself, stimulus check, into that, what's the advocacy? What is going to be the criticism? What should I say on camera? And then I created it. Hashtag CFR stimulus, and I pressed the first recording in December 2020. I said purple power, referring to the viewership of my channel. Here I am. Second stimulus package is thousands of pages. It hasn't been done. We've seen them negotiate for 11 months. How about this? Putting a stimulus check into a continuing resolution budget bill. It has a deadline. Its deadline is December 2020 at the time. I said, you watch that deadline, they follow the deadline, they will meet the deadline. And if they do, and there's a check in there, it goes out and you'll get it. Viewers love the idea. I said, go on social media and tag your elected officials with that campaign. If you're in the live chat right now, write out the hashtag campaign if you remember it. It's hashtag C Charles, R Robert, the number 4 stimulus, all U's. There's no A's in stimulus. Stimulus, STIMULUS. And we pushed, you pushed the purple power, my creation and your push in 2020. And then we woke up one morning and we heard the legislators had put stimulus into the continuing resolution. We looked and it was not a stimulus check. It was unemployment benefits. We said, good, but not what we're asking for. We pushed back and then finally it got in there. My creation made history. The second check that went out from the federal government that landed in your bank account was my creation put into a continuing resolution. Remember, the second stimulus package never happened. It eventually never happened. So there never was a second stimulus check in a second stimulus package. It never happened. This was a check put into a continuing resolution. It was sent out on December 2020, and it became your $600 check. Now, when I pressed that first recording and the Purple Power supported the initiative, the criticism was ready. But I was ready for the criticism as well. The reaction was exactly what I anticipated. LALATE, you're crazy. It doesn't belong in there. The continuing resolution, LALATE, is to fund the federal government. It's to give money to the government for it to operate. It's not to send out money to the American people. It does not belong in there. Stimulus check does not belong as stimulus in a continuing resolution, LALATE. You're wrong. My reaction was, you're right. It doesn't belong in there. Doesn't mean it can't go in there. History of Congress for decades is to pass bodies of legislations where they put things in there that does not belong. And even during the pandemic, they had done it then, and they're still doing it to this day. At the time, they had a COVID relief bill that sent out money to foreign countries' militaries. COVID relief bill that sent out money to build an FBI building, and COVID relief money to put more money into the Department of Copyrights, not for copyrights on COVID. So I said, I know it doesn't belong in there. but you've done this before. Why not send out a check to us? It doesn't belong in there, but you send out other people's checks. Why not send out a check for us? And it became law. One Saturday ago, last Saturday, I delivered the message on air. Should we bring back CR for stimulus today? Does it make sense? And since then, the reactions have come in. After the commercial break, and I'm going to go over where CR for stimulus is right now, today. It's breaking news. Plus, we'll examine whether those add-ons that viewers have asked about, like executive order, like the boost grant, like other programs, can they be added with CR for stimulus, or can they not? Plus, I'll analyze one viewer's comment yesterday about a $10,200 check. Is it true or is it false? Plus, an additional $1,500 check for SNAP. True or false? Coming up after the commercial break. Plus, the latest details on Bernie Sanders, what he said about this recon, the latest comments from Joe Biden, and also Chuck Schumer on getting the second stimulus package, on getting the recon done, the Build Back Better Act. All those incredible details coming up after the commercial break. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll see you back in 60 seconds as Mornings LA continues live on air direct from California with a lot of breaking news on a big morning. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering. I'll see you back in 60 seconds as Mornings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now, direct from Santa Monica, California, as Mornings LA goes in the second half as we examine CR for Stimulus 2022. Does it work and will it work? I'll have the latest details brand new at Mornings LA live on air this second half. Plus, we'll examine executive orders because the president sent out stimulus checks by executive order. What about the boost grant? And what about those other proposals that viewers have talked about in the live chats in the last 24 hours? The Senate changes, we'll go over more about that, and the push to add in an MSC on top of the $15,000 of checks is incredible recon, and the $45,000 of checks from third stimulus. I'll show you how to get that money right now. You want thousands of dollars this week? It's third stimulus, and I'm going to show you how you get it in the second half. Student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus fifth stimulus, what you need to know about that. All these incredible details coming up in the second half of this video. Plus, we'll be looking at what Vladimir Putin and Jay Powell are doing coming into the new week. We have a lot in this video. It's a lot on air, and plus we'll have the latest comments from Bernie. Are they working in favor or against the recon? This is LA. I want you to subscribe. You're watching the #3 most watched financial news channel in America. Live in the morning like right now. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you for all the incredible subscriber growth in recent days. Like the video and consider becoming a member. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. And here we go right into the second half with CR for Stimulus 2022 and your money. Last Saturday, I said, do you want to do it again? Do you want to do CR for Stimulus again? And viewers said yes. And overwhelmingly, in the last 7 days, viewers have been very excited for this for the obvious reason of the following. It looks exactly the same thing as 2020. Number one, how long have the negotiations gone on? At least 11 months. It was 11 months in 2020. At the moment, it's approaching almost 12 months. Number two, in 2020, it was two people negotiating. In 2022, it's also two people really negotiating. Joe and Joe now, then Nancy and Steve. Number three, are millions of Americans in need of it? You are in need of it. So the concept is very simple. Send out a stimulus check in the upcoming continuing resolution, which is due in February. The federal budget bill is due in February, which means that has a deadline. Maybe they miss it by a day or a few days or a week or so, but they ain't going to move it to May. They got to get it done. Put in one check and then continue to work on the recon and send out its $50,000 or $60,000 of checks thereafter. And that's why viewers love it. So go on social media, hashtag CR4Stimulus. Don't add 2020 or 2022 or anything else to it. Just hashtag CR4Stimulus. Retweet fellow viewers, tag your elected officials, call up and advocate across the board. And with that, I want to go over some of the incredible comments that viewers have asked about. Can we add something to CR4Stimulus? Let's go over each of those add-ons, whether they work or they don't work, starting right now. Great questions people are giving me. So first, executive order. Can Joseph Biden, as President of the United States, go into the Department of Treasury, grab a wad of cash, and mail you a stimulus check by executive order? Answer, absolutely, categorically unlawful. He cannot. The President of the United States cannot walk into the Department of Treasury, grab money, and send it out to the American people. Now, he can do something else. First, he can repurpose existing money that is not in Treasury, that is somewhere else. Most commonly, money that was dedicated for a program that is somewhere else. The program is over, the program has ended, and the money has still leftover money. This has happened many times in the last 12 months that this channel has been around. First, the President of the United States, before Joe Biden, Donald Trump, did this when he reached out to FEMA and said, you know what, you have extra money left over from COVID, repurpose it for an additional weeks of FPUC, we're going to call it LWA, that add-on to unemployment benefits. It was not originally unemployment money. It was originally FEMA money. He said repurpose it. Did it need an executive order? It didn't. Did it need just a phone call? That's all it needed. When else could this have been done? It could have been done by Donald Trump at any time in 2020 by picking up the phone and calling Javita Carranza, head of SBA, and saying, you have $550 billion sitting there from unused money for the SBA programs of the first and second stimulus package, repurpose that money for a stimulus check and send it out. He didn't make the phone call, and I still to this day contend, had he had sent out that second stimulus check to the American people in fall of 2020, it may have changed the future of the presidential race. He could have repurposed the money. What is the opportunities for Joe Biden today? Can Joe Biden repurpose money? He can. Is there money to repurpose? I don't know that there is. If you've seen any money that I've not keeping track of that is sitting around, that is left over, that can be repurposed, send me a private message. I do know, however, what Joe Biden could do right now that is different than repurposing money. He can change guidelines. Guidelines, benchmarks, thresholds are virtually instructions of how agencies operate. Who determines that? The president. How does he determine? Executive order? No, just a phone call. When was the last time Joe Biden did this? He did it in October 2020. He picked up the phone and contacted over to SNAP, Department of Agriculture, said, you know what, the money you're sending out for food, it's not enough. It's behind the times. It's not up to current standards and numbers. I want you to send out more money. So I want you to start sending out 25% more on average to everyone on SNAP lifetime. There was no executive order for that. It was just a statement, a call, a memo, Done. Does not read an act of Congress, does not involve taking money out of Treasury. It was done, and everyone's benefits went up 25%. What else can Joe Biden do right today as a great example of how to put money in your wallet today? Virtually all of fifth stimulus can be done by Joe Biden tomorrow morning. Here is the first example. Joe Biden can pick up the phone and contact Social Security Administration, say, you know what? You're paying benefits based upon COLA. I don't want you to use COLA anymore. I want you to use inflation as the benchmark and start doing it effective today or next month. Doesn't need an act of Congress. COLA doesn't generally work. It has generally been zero for many, many years. It worked this last year because inflation was very high. So COLA came in at 5.9% in December last year. That's why this month's check is 5.9% more, and it will be 5.9% more going forward. But this stimulus looks to replace COLA and use inflation as the benchmark. And inflation is a lot more. I had predicted back in spring of 2021 that inflation would be 8% in December of last month. It came in exactly what I predicted, 7.5%. Federal Reserve said it was going to be 1 to 2%. They were wrong. Wall Street saying 2 to 3%. They were wrong. They also said it was going to be temporary, 1 month. They are wrong. It's going to stay high. Joe Biden could do that then and could do it right today. Pick up the phone, contact Social Security Administration, say, you know what? I don't want you to use COLA anymore. I want you to use a new benchmark, inflation. And suddenly, your monthly check would not be 5.9% more. It would be 7.5% more if it's based upon today's inflationary numbers reported about 2 weeks ago. Very, very simple. Now, other parts of his stimulus I don't think Joe Biden can do, which are asset cap, income cap, and marriage penalty. Those were acts of Congress. Those are actually laws, as far as I recall, from the 1960s. I don't think he can remove an act of law that requires Congress to do it. But he can change benchmarks, eligibility, and things like that right across the board. Next, some viewers, a lot of viewers, asking me why not do CR for stimulus with the Boost Act. I didn't know what the Boost Act was, so I looked it up. And guess what? This is a no-brainer. No, it's a no-brainer. Why is it a no-brainer? The Boost Act is another body of legislation. To pass a body of legislation, you need enough votes. Well, there is not a single Republican in both Houses and Senate that wants to send out any money for stimulus to the American people. So you have to do everything by reconciliation. Well, why would you do the Boost Act as another reconciliation bill when you already have a recon more than halfway through with the Build Back Better Act? You can just modify it. There's no reason to start doing another recon. And again, the Boost Act would not pass if it was not a recon. Very, very interesting, very fascinating across the board. Yesterday, a very interesting situation happened. Two things. One, in one of the chats, you may have seen it, one viewer jumped in there and said, what about that extra $1,500 for SNAP checks that everyone's getting? We all looked at each other in live chat and said, did we all miss something? What $1,500 check? Now, this is why it's important. And this is why I first launched Purple Hawks in January of 2020. 2021. Purple Hawks describes people who watch this channel who are ready to pounce and know all the details of every check in a provision. This, my friends, is your fourth stimulus check update 2021. All these checks are going to the finish line in 2022, but you need to know them, and you can't sort of know a version of them. So is there a $1,500 check for more SNAP benefits? No. What is likely to have happened is that someone in watching or reading something somewhere else may have gotten confused by hearing that SNAP benefits went up an average of 25% lifetime starting last October, which may add up to about $1,500 more per year, and thought that's an extra check and may have convoluted the two concepts together. Here's something else that happened yesterday, and this one's a little bit more fascinating. So, during evening's LALATE, there was one viewer who was acting up with a lot of anti-Joe Biden remarks. Okay, after the show was over and the person was, The person started going on Twitter and tagging me and Joe Biden, LA and Joe Biden. And what was her comment? Now, this is where it gets very interesting. The person was writing to Joe Biden the following comment. She said, "Why have you never sent out the extra $10,200 of unemployment benefits checks that everyone are owed? I'm owed an extra $10,200 of unemployment benefits checks. I never got it." Now, this is really a fascinating example, and you see why I'm using this example. $10,200. Is that number been brought up in unemployment benefits last year? It has. Is there an extra? No. Does it concern a revision of something? Yes. Has the person heard half of the story and gotten confused? Very much so. This is why details are important when you're dealing with these packages. Let's go back. In third stimulus, people had paid taxes on their unemployment benefits they got from third stimulus. Then third stimulus became law and said the first $10,200, the first $10,200 you pay taxes on, the taxes will be returned to you, not the $10,200. So let's say, for example, you had $12,000 of unemployment benefits and you paid taxes on the first $10,200. Let's say the amount of taxes you paid was $900. You're getting back a check of $900. You're not getting a check of $10,200. Very, very different. But this is why it's important to really stay focused on all these provisions. One of the volunteers is in the live chat right now. I adore her dearly. She and I both thought initially under the fourth stimulus package that the $12,500 for the purchase of the electric vehicle looks the same as it's always looked since almost 10 years ago. In the Obama administration, they passed a law that says if you go buy an electric vehicle, then you file a tax return and you get a rebate back from the federal government for a certain amount of money. Meaning you have to buy the car, you have to file a tax return, then you get a check from the IRS. We thought, the volunteer and myself both thought, for several weeks, that was how they're doing this on the fourth stimulus. Until one day I heard one analyst say, no, it's a little bit different. So I went in my notes and I said, it is different. In the case of fourth stimulus, you go into the dealership, you see the electric car you want to buy, you go to the cash register and you pay up to $12,500 less at the time of purchase, and you're done. There's no refund, there's no IRS, there's no sending money in the mail. It's done at the time of purchase. That's why all these things are so important to go over the specifics. And there you go. Now, let's go over something that's going on with Bernie Sanders, because this is very important, and let's go over what's going on with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, less than a week ago, had his spokesperson, Andrew Bates, say that the fourth stimulus recon will get passed, the Build Back Better Act. Good. He also said we're going to turn down the noise. Turn down the noise was covering this channel for 4 days, meaning we're going to have less of that angst, that aggressiveness of Democrat versus Democrat in the press. We're going to turn down the noise. Has the noise been turned down? No, the noise has been turned up more than a very bad boombox. Let me go over what Bernie's doing, Bernie Sanders, and it's not good. It's no bueno. I adore Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is part of half of the Democratic wing. There are two wings of the Democratic Party. One are progressives. The other are moderate Democrats. They each want certain provisions in the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon. Now, before we go over that, let me make something very clear. Everything they all want is all good. There's nothing bad from either side. Whatever the progressives want is good for you. Whatever the moderate Democrats want is also good for you. It doesn't take money from the other side, and there's nothing bad about either side's provisions. Okay, so what did Bernie Sanders do a few days ago? He went after the other side of the Democrats, the moderate Democrats, by going after their provision in the recon. Look good? Doesn't look good. Now, the history and the way in which you get the recon done is everyone has to work together. And it doesn't work when you go after someone. You have to work together. Let's recap. This is a recon. It has been passed by the House. It is now in the Senate. To pass the Senate, you need to have every single Democratic senator's vote. You can't go after them because if they vote against it, then there's nothing bad about either side. 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 There's noth You're done. It's not going to pass. Back in the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi understood that concept very clearly, and she had to have every Democratic vote in the House for it to pass. The moderate Democrats went to Nancy Pelosi, led by Gothenheimer out of New Jersey, said, I want the SALT cap in there raised up. Without going over the provisions just yet, let me tell you, it's a provision that helps people. It's not a provision that hurts anyone. It doesn't hurt anyone. And she said, okay, I'll put it in there, but you vote in favor of the recon. They said, deal. She understood how to do a deal. You want the recon passed? Yeah. Well, put my provision in there. I'll vote in favor of it. They did, and they voted in favor of it. Easy breezy. Now, we're over to the Senate. What did Bernie Sanders do less than 48 hours ago? He said the moderate Democrats' provision of the SALT cap has been removed. It's untrue. He said it was removed during negotiations this last week. There was never any negotiations whatsoever. Also untrue. Now, it's not that part of this discussion that I'm worried about. It's what happens thereafter. He then went after the provision, and every moderate Democrat who wants the provision in there saying it's a horrible provision. It is a provision that unjustly helps rich people and hurts poor people, and this and that and those and them. And then went after certain states as well. Boy. He went after moderate Democrats. He went after people who want the provision. He went after certain states. He just went after everyone. He wasn't done then yet. He then went after Sinema and Manchin a little bit more, and he said they need to be censored. This doesn't work. Why? Because the provision is a good provision. The provision doesn't hurt anyone. There's no provision in this recon that doesn't hurt anyone. Imagine that Bernie Sanders wants his provisions to be added, like lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55. Imagine someone of the moderate Democrats coming out and saying no person should ever have Medicare benefits at 55, and that hurts the American people. It doesn't hurt the American people. But imagine someone saying that. It wouldn't make sense. Imagine Bernie wants dental, vision, and hearing in there. And imagine a moderate Democrat coming out and say, you know what? Americans do not need to see. You can be blind. I mean, that's just basically the version of what's going on here. It just doesn't make sense. So where else is this coming from? It's also coming from the White House. The president's chief of staff, Ron Klain, has been doing this for too long. He has been issuing press releases going after Joe Manchin, going after the states of Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, going after the moderate Democrats. Folks, you need every single vote. You need every single vote. And if you go after people and cause feuds every single day, things don't go from point A to point B. And with that, let me go over some of the incredible checks and this incredible recon. I hope that the president really ropes them in and says, tone it down a notch because you're getting a little bit too extended. In the other provisions, incredible recon, let's go over them, some of them right now. They got in cheaper prescription medication, starting with 20 medications at year 2020, immediately out the door, and growing to 30 medications by the year 2028. The most expensive medications like Medicare Part B, D, and that is cancer, arthritis, diabetes, dropping the price of things like insulin from $1,000 to $35 a dose. They got $40 billion of free job training from these Americans who need a new job, like the president's chief of staff. They got in there the Medicaid gap fix. There's 12 Republican states that vowed never to provide a cheaper medical insurance. So Raphael Warnock and Joe Manchin got a workaround plan to provide years of subsidized private insurance to low-income uninsured people in those states. They got in there the housing assistance, which I'm going to go over in just a second. They got in there the Pell Grant, $550 check for my college students. They got in there the nutrition, $65 per month. They got in the extension of those provisions from third stimulus. So the hazard pay, the earned income tax credit, one more year. The child tax credit, one more year, $3,600. The household tax credit. The care for young people across the board, those extended for one more year. And then everything that Ronald White and Bernie, Liz want to add in there, still not added in there, like the MSC, that would be added in there, like the dental, vision, hearing. I'm going to use the dental as an example. Bernie wants to add dental. He originally wanted 20 years of benefits. Bernie, that's asking too much. You can't ask for 20 years of benefits. What's the reaction that he got to it? Here's a measly $500 a year check, stipend check. That's what happens when you ask too much. People come in too low. $500 doesn't cut it. 25 years of benefits is too much. So you can't ask too much. You're biting off too much that you can chew. On the dental benefits, see how I did that? Yeah. And then there's frame wars. We've covered frame wars. I don't need to bring that back. That is, you don't need $500 frames under the first stimulus rate cut either. Now, let's go to that housing. The housing is where the money is for you today. Thousands of dollars, you want to get it today? You can. It's third stimulus. So get your pen and paper out. If you're a member of this channel, pull out the newsletter. If you're not a member of this channel, become a member. The link is under the video. You'll get that emoji behind your name like a purple hawk. Third stimulus, when it became a law in 2021, had a lot of checks in there. And I mainly told viewers there's at least $15,000 you can get from this money. Viewers on average got $45,000 at the time for their first round. This is rent, utilities, mortgages is more. Summer of last year, they got another round, but most viewers got the big last round in December of 2021. We called it Christmas stimulus or Santa stimulus. They averaged about $15,000. Now, in January 2022, you can get more money. First, the rent. 6 places you want to get it from. Follow along with the newsletter if you're a member. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, State House Authority. Keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. Mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. 3 you must do. You must reach out to all 6 places. 2, you must get applications on file everywhere. And you must get multiple rounds. More about that second. Utility assistance because of COVID. Reach out to all utility companies across the board. Get as many pots of money. Started by Art and E.C. Sullivan, viewers of this channel. Get as many pots of money, which brings us then to SNAP. Get on SNAP. It is money for food. You get it from Department of Agriculture. It pays a lot, upwards of $25,000 a year for some viewers. Now, those rounds. I want you to get the latest round as far out as possible. Shoot for May of 2022. They don't have it, then try April, then try March. Start with the organization you last started with. If they're out of money, then reach out to one of those other 6 and then lean on the nonprofits. The nonprofits are replenished every year in January. Overnight, or maybe it was the day before, one viewer sent me a message. I have broken windows. Any help I can get with the broken windows? Yeah, that's the nonprofits. I actually featured broken windows, heaters, portable air conditioners, things that are nominal repairs to keep you warm, cool, insulated. The nonprofits do that as well. That's the benefit of becoming a member. It's all featured in the newsletter as well. And with that, what's happening with Vladimir Putin and also Jay Powell. So in the next week, we're going to see what's happening with Vladimir Putin. The invasion of Ukraine seems more likely by the minute. There was a whole analysis about this morning. Ukraine is very opposed to Russia's invasion, as opposed to how they may have been 10 years ago. Now they're very opposed to the situation. The United Nations and the NATO countries are very aligned against Putin on this, surprisingly. So a series of new reports say that some of those northern countries like Denmark and Sweden that are usually out of the equation are actually preparing to potentially dedicate resources. Already dedicating resources are England, the United States. Germany is on the fence on this one. So Germany is not coming to the situation at the moment. Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, said that your interest rate spikes will start in March. So we have a lot going on, don't we, folks? We have interest rate spikes in March. We have the threat of a potential invasion of Ukraine, which would impact your gasoline at the pump and impact other inflation. We have Omicron-caused inflation, covered later today on this video, on this channel. So we have a lot of economic forces at issue. That's why CR for stimulus makes sense. Advocate across the board. Keep it focused, keep it positive. New shows throughout the day, new shows always on this channel. Coming up next is Noontime LALATE, and then we have 1 o'clock Afternoons LALATE, followed by a brand new Afternoons LALATE at 3 o'clock today. It's all brand new Afternoons LALATE at 3 o'clock today. And with that, I want you part of this incredible family. Thank you for joining me in a live chat today, direct from Santa Monica, California. And wow, there's a lot of people in the live chat. There's James and Lisa and Janice and Shirley and Christina, and I think I saw Dragon earlier. And there's Lynn Glenn and Bob Bacon, and there is Lorraine C, and there is Scott and Tammy, and also James and Lily. How are you? And there's Clifford Donnelly. How is everyone? And there's Shirley and Maria Lee. Hope everyone is having a beautiful day. Join me next on noontime, which starts in about 1 hour from now, and then we go into 1 o'clock's afternoon's LALATE, a brand new 3 o'clock's LALATE. And with that, I have a whole slate of new shows coming up, of course, tomorrow as well. And of course, subscribe. You're watching LALATE, the #3 most watched financial news channel in America. Like the video and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful weekend and a beautiful new week. Stay here, stay focused, stay on point, stay motivated, stay advocating, and stay informed. You never want to confuse what $10,200 is. Is it a check? Is it a refund? Is it a deduction? What is it? I have all the details every minute by the day. And if you're always still confused, you can always send me a private message on social media. I'll answer you there as well. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and stay with LA for more.